Video topic. When you get smarter, small talk dies. Here's the psychology behind it. Have you ever noticed something strange? The more you think, the more you read, the more self-aware you become, the harder it is to tolerate small talk. Not because you hate people, not because you think you're better than anyone, but because conversations that once filled the room now feel empty. If that's happened to you, you're not broken. You're evolving. And today, I want to explain why small talk dies when intelligence grows, using psychology, neuroscience, and something most people never talk about. At some point, you realize every conversation sounds the same. The same opinions, the same jokes, the same surface level energy. You can predict what someone is about to say before they finish the sentence, and suddenly, talking feels less like connection and more like buffering. You don't want noise anymore, you want meaning. And that shift doesn't happen randomly. It happens when your brain starts operating differently. Here's the truth no one explains. Intelligent minds get bored faster, not because they lack connection or attention, but because they recognize patterns too quickly. Your brain is a pattern detection machine. Once it's seen something enough times, it stops releasing dopamine. There's no novelty, no stimulation, no reward. Small talk is built entirely on repetition. Weather, trends, safe opinions, social scripts. When your brain has already solved the pattern, the conversation feels dead on arrival. Your mind isn't bored because it's lazy. It's bored because it already knows where this is going. Researchers in cognitive psychology and neuroscience suggest that people with higher intelligence or especially efficient pattern recognition systems get bored faster because their brains extract structure from situations quickly, leaving repetitive or low complexity environments feeling empty of new information to process. Once a pattern is mastered, prediction errors drop. So dopamine-fueled curiosity and reward responses diminish, pushing these individuals toward novelty seeking to regain that sense of informational surprise and mental challenge. In brains that are both cognitively efficient and more sensitive to novelty, familiar interactions can understimulate the prefrontal cortex, feeling like a mild stress state, and trigger a restless search for richer, more complex input. Meaning, what looks like boredom on the surface is often the nervous system's way of saying, this environment is no longer worth the computational effort. Small talk was never designed to be meaningful. It exists to reduce social friction, signal safety, and avoid conflict. It's social lubrication, not nourishment. Deep conversation, on the other hand, activates curiosity, emotional resonance, and conceptual thinking. Intelligent minds don't crave comfort, they crave signal. That's why you'd rather talk about ideas, systems, fears, ethics, or the future than spend 20 minutes pretending you care about something you've already thought through. Depth isn't antisocial, it's efficient. Across multiple lines of research, deeper conversations consistently emerge as more psychologically nourishing than mere small talk because they engage in meaning, authenticity, and emotional disclosure in ways that small talk rarely does. Naturalistic earshot studies by Matthias Mell and colleagues show that people with higher life satisfaction spend less time alone, have more total conversations, and crucially, engage in fewer trivial exchanges and more substantive discussions about ideas, feelings, experiences, with conversational depth, predicting greater well-being, even after accounting for personality. Follow-up work confirms that while small talk itself is not harmful, happiness is most strongly associated with a higher proportion of meaningful conversations, suggesting that quality talk that feels purposeful and self-revealing matters more than quantity alone. Experimental studies on getting beyond small talk further show that people systematically underestimate how much they and others enjoy intimate, value-laden conversations with strangers, yet report stronger connection, authenticity, and emotional fulfillment when they actually have them, highlighting that humans are wired to bond through shared vulnerability and perceived understanding, rather than safe but shallow exchanges. Here's the cost of mental depth that nobody warns you about. As your thinking becomes more complex, your social bandwidth narrows. Not everyone operates at the same level of abstraction. Not everyone enjoys questioning assumptions. Not everyone wants to examine reality. Many just wanted to feel familiar. So you start editing yourself, shortening your thoughts, swallowing ideas because you think they won't land. And eventually, you feel alone in a room full of people. You're not lonely because you're alone. You're lonely because you're untranslated. Psychological research on giftedness and high cognitive complexity suggests that social isolation often grows out of mismatch, not defect. The mind develops in one direction while the surrounding social world develops in another. The concept of asynchronous development describes individuals whose reasoning, language, or moral awareness race ahead of their age peers, while emotional regulation and social skills unfold on a more typical timeline, creating a daily feeling of being out of phase with one's cohort. Studies of gifted children and adolescents note that advanced interests and more complex inner lives can make age mates feel distant or hard to relate to. So conversations and group norms may feel superficial or draining, reinforcing withdrawal and loneliness even in the presence of others. Clinicians and researchers also highlight a different kind of alienation. When highly intelligent people suppress their depth, intensity, or quirky curiosity to fit in, they often report self-alienation, feeling cut off from their authentic values and ways of thinking, even when socially successful on the surface. Over time, this perceived lack of social fit, the sense that there are few spaces where both their complexity and their need for belonging are welcomed, can contribute to chronic tension between the desire to connect and the fear of being unseen, misunderstood, or too much, which is why finding like-minded peers and environments is repeatedly emphasized as a protective factor in our population. From the outside, this shift looks like arrogance. You talk less, you disengage faster, you don't fake interest, so people think you're superior. In reality, your mind is overstimulated, not egotistical. Silence isn't dominance, it's conservation. Silence is often mistaken for ego by those who speak to avoid thinking. Here's what replaces small talk when intelligence grows: fewer conversations, longer conversations, and deeper conversations. One-on-one discussions, shared creation, ideas that unfold slowly. You don't want many connections, you want real ones. And once you experience that level of depth, surface-level interaction stops satisfying you altogether. Here's what replaces small talk when intelligence grows: fewer conversations, yet longer conversations and deeper conversations. One-on-one discussions, shared creation, ideas that unfold slowly. You don't want many connections, you want real ones. And once you experience that level of depth, surface-level interaction stops satisfying you altogether. But there's a danger here. If intelligence turns into superiority, it becomes isolation. Wisdom isn't just seeing deeper, it's learning how to translate depth without diminishing it. If your intelligence separates you from everyone else, it's unfinished. Small talk didn't die because something is wrong with you. It died because your mind started asking better questions. And once you taste real conversation, there's no going back. When was the last time a conversation actually fed your mind? Like and subscribe. It takes you 2 seconds, but it helps me out more than you can imagine. Love you guys.